I hope everyone's doing outstanding. October 7th, 3:05 here on this Monday afternoon. Talk really quick about the markets, some moves being made, some of the names I added, and go from there. But the SPY is down nearly 1% here. Just a nasty, I wouldn't even call it a nasty, just I don't even know what I call it, frustrating. Just an annoying session. It was the VIX all day, all the morning was just hanging in there over 20. There was 20, it was just melting higher slowly but surely. And then things just escalated about 2:30 and it's like it all came to a resolution and the market fell 568 broke, we tested 566 in a flash, and yeah, so I mean, in silver linings, things aren't there's still a decent amount of green on my watch list, and there's not a crazy amount of stocks down substantial that weren't already down. Most of them have already made the moves in the morning, but yes, as we set up to the CPI data, earnings season, Fed minutes on Wednesday, and then we have all these, the headlines just keep coming in around the Middle East, and now we have this new hurricane threat in hitting Florida, this Milton, which had one of the craziest, um, you know, it just went from category 1 to category, well, 4, I guess, to 5 soon, the quickest, um, for it to escalate to that point in, I guess, in history. Who knows? But anyway, sometimes these events, especially natural disasters, of course, first, you don't want anyone to get hurt, or you hate to see these things, but I mean, they do happen. And a lot of times you see some of these names move higher as hurricane plays, Home Depot, Lowe's, GNRC. Um, but yeah, and even insurers sometimes. All right. So take a look at the SPY in 568. It was the big spot, then 565. So we broke 568. We're starting to bounce here. If we can get back over 568, maybe that'll bode well into the close here with less than an hour left. But I remain cautious. I put on the watch list this morning. It's and not that it's like a gut or what have you. I just don't want to be in a spot where I'm caught with my pants down on a big gap down to the downside for no other reason than no catalyst, no news, just people taking profits with a couple more months left in the year, earnings season coming up, with the election. There's all these different ingredients, and it just makes for a great narrative for folks to rationalize any kind of move that we do have to the downside. So that's kind of my fear here. And then as the afternoon was going, and I saw the VIX really start to spike, that's when I went and got some hedge puts. If we break 565 on the SPY, then I'll start to look for some more hedge puts. I was looking at ServiceNow, Lam Research, Broadcom, but I kind of just standing pat on those names just because the premiums are somewhat elevated, whereas a name like Visa, Mastercard seem a little less expensive because the implied moves aren't as large. All right, so watching 568 and 565. So we get back over 568. That might bode well into tomorrow. But again, China markets open up overnight, so that could be a similar binary event. I'm sure it's going to it'll probably open higher. Now, does it hold the gains and rally, or is it going to be one of those reversals where it just sells off and then we have kind of a spillover to the rest of the world markets? Right at this moment, I almost am leaning to the latter, but uh, will be certainly interesting. Um, so I didn't put the chart in the chat room, but if you take a look at I think this is a 3-minute chart on the SPY, but just take a look how the support resistance, once that 568 broke, it was like a the wall broke. Someone posted in the chat room, it's like that little leak, and then the leak gets bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden the pressure just builds up to the point where it just breaks through, and that's what it looked like. Sellers continue to sell, but the buyers just disappeared, and we had that leak. Hopefully we find some support here. The VIX, I mean, it's at 20, it hit 23. It's up 16%, and the S&P is not even down 1%, and it's over 20. So when we're up 16% on the VIX and we're at 15 or 16 or 17, it's a little different. We're over 20. So we're above historical levels on the VIX. We're market's still near all-time highs, and we're not even down 1%, and the VIX is up here. So it just means big moves are coming. And maybe it's to the upside. I mean, I would love it to be, but the more this stays like this, the more I start to get a little more cautious. All right, so that's the SPY. The VIX, again, back to September levels, so we start looking over 25. Then you got to go back to August when we hit that 65 handle. I don't know if we'll get there. It'd have to be some serious uh, swan event or some kind of something like that. All right, so now individual names. So just before I added some Visa puts, just start looking. The 250-day moving average are now at 272. I'm not the best. So, when I look at charts, sometimes it's easy to get biased if you're in a position, right? So when I look at the Visa chart, I think I'm looking at a bear flag. And when you have a bear flag set up, it means you have a pull from highs and a sell-off. Although the sell-off in Visa was quite fast because of the Department of DOJ investigation and what have you, the suit. And then it had a decent bounce. I think it's 268, 267, 268 it hit, then all the way up to 278 yesterday, and then just a continuous melt off today. No news, no catalyst. Well, I mean, there's an IPO, right? Is there an IPO or some unicorn that got a crazy valuation in the transaction space? A- Anyway, so you start looking. If it breaks 272 tomorrow, I could see a trade in the 260s. The puts looking expensive on a risk reward basis as a hedge, so I added those. Um, I'll probably wait till 565 breaks on the SPY before I add any more puts. But again, these are little basic bear flag setups. But if you look at the chart above and then you look at what a bear flag is, I'm not saying, oh, why did I post my Visa chart in the chat room? I apologize. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. Nothing's ever certain with the markets, but charts are a guide, right? So, fundamentals, macro stuff going on, the overall market, then individual stuff with charts. Charts is it's like the history lesson, right? And a lot of times those patterns that set up over time repeat themselves. So that's the bear flag. MasterCard's a little different. So if you take a look at MasterCard, there's an $8 or $9 implied move on the weekly options, which is only a 1.8% move. So if MasterCard moves down another 1% tomorrow, the puts that are close to the money are going to be 100, 200% gainers at least. Doesn't mean that MasterCard can't rally, but you start looking at the candle today, and then you start looking at the 50-day moving average is looming there at 475. I don't know if it gets there, but if the market does have continuation tomorrow, I could see MasterCard trading down, half a percent. Well, 1% is $5. If if it's 2%, you start looking. That's 482, and then the 480 puts are going to be up substantially. So that was the thought process behind adding those as well. And I've been watching MasterCard for a while on the heels of Visa as well for play for downside. Again, these are great stories. They've mega growth over the years. Yeah, to me, all good stories come to an end at some point. I'm not saying it's the end for me, Visa, MasterCard, but uh, it's been a while. I've been talking about one of these days. It's what do they say? Always not wrong, just early, right? So that's MasterCard. Another name, MDB. So I always look for this for downside when we do have, or at least for a put hedge, when we do have market weakness. But the premiums, again, I was mentioned before, they're expensive on a risk reward basis. So could be a name later in the week if the Fed minutes come out, we have weakness, or if there's continuation. Another name I'll be watching. So now on the flip side, added some Roku calls. Finally, I've been mentioning over the last couple days. Netflix report earnings next Thursday. You start looking at Roku. It's like it seems to be strong despite what the market's doing. And typically Roku would sell off. And with the S&P down 1%, Roku would be down 3, 4, 5%. And here it is hanging tough, and it's at multi-month levels, right near its multi-month high. So to see it do that, it means that someone's accumulating shares. And once, similar to what happened with the SPY when we had that break on the 568 before, once the sellers start to dissipate, it's gonna be a quick move over $80. So I was looking at the 85 strikes for next week, but then for 10 cents more, I could get another dollar with, the premiums will erode. It won't erode as quickly on the lower strikes. So I figured that the extra money made sense, although it takes away from the multi-bagger possibility. But went and got those strikes. Don't be surprised if I add more if there's weakness, because at some point there's going to be another. It's had, like I said last week, there's 8 analyst opt-in and upgrades since the start of September, and there's going to be another, and it's going to kick it over that 85. It's going to go bonkers, or there could be some of the catalysts. So that's Roku. So I added those strikes. WYNN, I was looking to close out some of the 115s, but it's been churning here. And then in the back of my head, you have that they have their analysts conference call and presentation tomorrow for their United Arab Emirates island they're building with their first to get approval for a gaming license. So they're going to come out with some financials and some projections. Have to think that it's going to be pretty rosy. So I don't know how much that adds to their business, what that looks like, and of course it's way out there in terms of it's not going to be in their results for who knows what the timeline is. But the market's a forward-looking mechanism, so you got to start. Market's going to start valuing WYNN at higher multiples with that additional revenue. So, and not only that, without any competition, the Middle East is very heated for casinos, and you have Saudi Arabia. You watch what's going on with the UFC, and it's just there's a lot of things that are happening, and I think it's just going to lead people to pile in more into WYNN and create more of a bull case. So I'll continue to hold the 115s and maybe tomorrow, depending what the market does. If we do have a pullback in Asian markets, WYNN might be down to 102, 103. I'll see what my calls were over 400% before. They're like 300% now. I'll probably look to lock some more in, but WYNN was great last week, so I'll probably just hold the 115s. AMD, I mean, it's up here 170.58 now, off the lows this morning. Yeah, well, there's a presentation or something that came out from NVIDIA. You're ahead of this AI event on October 10th for AMD. The calls were only down 20% or so, so I'll just continue to hold the last of my 180s. I was looking to close some of them earlier, but I figure if there's continued rally and it's right at its upper Bollinger Band at 172.56 is the upper Bollinger Band. I think that's right where it hit today at about 130, 172.32 before finding pressure. So if that breaks tomorrow, it could be off to the races. That's that. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. Oh, SE, not much to add here on SE. It's just turning here, tight candles. I think the last week and a half it's been tight candles. Outside of that big move it had up near 98 last week, and then it came back those gains. At some point that's going to break over 100. So still have the last of my 100 strikes. At some point I'll add some more there. Redfin, yeah, it's tough to even look at that one. Down, hit the 50-day moving average at 1025. Just got to find some support at some point. Otherwise, if it breaks under 950, it's going to be a tough one. But still bullish the name. Once that finds some footing, maybe it needs the market and small caps to rally over the next couple sessions. And then similar. So I was doing the good, the bad, the ugly. So the good, the markets, the bad was adding some hedge puts, and then the ugly is Redfin and Turn. Turn broke under its 50-day moving average, down 4%. Still sitting on my hands to add some more strikes. Still bullish the name. It's just frustrating. They did their offering at 1049, and here it is off another $2. You would think, I don't know, there has to be a floor in here at some point. So I think that's it, folks. I'll be back on audio tomorrow. Let's have a great afternoon. Not sure if I'm probably not going to add anything into the close, but you never know. Oh, yeah, GNRC. I was looking at GNRC as well. So if you don't know GNRC, they do the generators, right? So name I played, I don't know if it was last year. I think it was last year. The stock was like $100. Played it for some nice gains, and it was turning around 120. And now you have this whole backdrop of an environment where there's going to be a huge demand for generators, right? So it always seems to be a hurricane play. But then you look at the premiums, and obviously with the stock up 13% today, the premiums are out of control already. It just, you start looking at the risk reward. I mean, if it gets to 185, 190 this week, the calls are not going to pay enough to hold that risk. So I'll just pass on it. But always a name to watch for hurricane season and natural disasters, things like that. All right, folks, let's have a great afternoon. I'll be back. Rock and roll.